Hey everybody, Joe, We the People Firearms Training in St. Charles, Illinois. Before we get into today's video, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. It'll only take a minute. We are a firearms training company in St. Charles. If you guys need any kind of firearms training, whether it be basic pistol, rifle, concealed carry, advanced concealed carry, any kind of tactical training, we do things from a beginner level up to a very tactical level. We've had beginners in classes, we've had police officers, SWAT officers in classes, active duty and reserve military. So there's really a spot for anybody. I want to ask you guys to sign up for a class if you're looking for anything, any kind of training, or if you know anybody that is. So let's get into today's video. A while back, Illinois submitted House Bill 5855, which is their gun control act. It bans assault weapons, assault weapons, large capacity magazines, and other things. They didn't have enough time to push it through fast enough. They needed three public readings on separate days. They didn't have that time because they wanted to get this done before the end of the 102nd General Assembly. So they attached it as an amendment to Senate Bill 2226. That happened last Thursday, middle of the day. That went to a vote Thursday night from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Friday morning. It was supposed to be heard by the Senate on Friday morning, but there was a death in the family, and it got pushed off until today, Sunday, January 8th. Tonight it's going to be at 5 p.m. I'll leave a link down in the description so you guys can watch that. I'm working off a bunch of notes today, so if you see me look over this way, there's so much to unpack in this bill. Well, not so much, just so many things that I want to get right. I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I got a bunch of notes that I'm working off of here. So tonight, 5 p.m., I urge you to watch this so you can see the idiocy unfold for yourselves. So let's go over a few things of what it's now 5741. Okay, Senate Bill 2226 is now House Bill 5471, Amendment 1. The reason they are not doing Senate Bill 2226 anymore is the original sponsors of that bill, that amusement park ride bill, which were Senators Doris Turner and Maddie Hunter. They would not allow the gun control bill to be amended to their bill. Here's a list of things that the bill is going to enact. And these are different than the previous ones. So if you've read the previous ones, 5855 and 2226, reread this one. I'll have a link to it also down in the description. 22 long rifle. Any rifle that is chambered in 22 long rifle that's patterned after an AR-15 or AK-47 or anything like that is now going to be an assault weapon. So if you have a 22 long rifle, if you have an AR in 22 long rifle or anything like that, that is now considered an assault weapon. Conversion kits, if you have an AR and you want to convert it to 22 long rifle to try to skirt around this, those are also going to be prohibited now. Let's talk about magazines, because everybody was freaking out about magazines. The initial bill, 5855, would have limited it to 10 rounds. In their stupidity, they decided with 2226 to, hey, let the peasants have 12 rounds. I don't know where they got 12. It's kind of an arbitrarily stupid number, but whatever. Now, the final version is 10 rounds for rifle, 15 rounds for pistols. They're also including a grandfather clause for anybody that has large capacity magazines, if you've had them before the signing of the bill. It also allows you to bring these magazines, these large capacity magazines, to a range or any private property where the owner has given you permission to be on the property and use that property. Here's another one: private sales. Right now, if you wanted to sell your gun privately to somebody else, you have to keep a record of that sale for 10 years with a bunch of information: FOID name, address, FOID number, approval number, serial number, and all that, a bunch of other stuff. Now, you're going to get a record, or you're going to create a record of that, and then you're going to bring it to an FFL, and the FFL is going to be responsible for holding onto that record for 20 years instead of you holding it onto it for 10. And it limits the amount of money that an FFL can charge for this service. It limits it to $25. So that's where they're going with private transfers on this one. To anybody that has recently purchased an AR, an AR, an AK, any kind of assault rifle, assault pistol, or a variant, and you have a pending sale, the language specifically reads: any sale or transfer with a background check initiated to the Illinois State Police on or before the effective date of this amendatory act of the 102nd General Assembly is allowed to be completed after the effective date of this amendatory act, once an approval is issued by the Illinois State Police and any applicable waiting period under Section 24-3 has expired. What it means is you need to have your background check initiated by the time this is signed. If you've bought it online and you're waiting for it to come in, what we're saying is, if you haven't already filled out your 4473, you're SOL. They're still keeping the supposed registry open. It's still part of that. It's still the same 300 days like it has been in the rest of the bill. However, there's also language in there on I don't have the page number in front of me, but there's also language in there that says, no rule shall allow Illinois State Police to retain records in contravention of state and federal law. The 1986 Hughes Amendment specifically forbade the creation of a national registry. So if federal law already prohibits a registry, and in your bill it says that no rule shall allow Illinois State Police to retain records in contravention of state and federal law, how are you going to create, or how are you going to keep a registry of things that people have voluntarily registered to you? Now let's take a second to talk about registrations, because I didn't cover this in my other video and I wanted to, and I just completely forgot because it was like 20 degrees out when I was filming that. Of the states in America that have put forth some sort of registration requirement, the highest percentage of people that actually registered their guns, assault rifles, whatever they were supposed to register, was in Connecticut, and that was 15%. That's 15%. That's the highest nationally that any registry has ever gotten as far as the amount of firearms that were registered. So what is that telling you? I mean, it tells me that people don't want to be governed or ruled. They're not governed, they're ruled that way because these tyrants are saying that, you know, you can keep it as long as you register it, but we all know registration leads to confiscation. Look at what's happened recently in Canada and years ago in Australia, and again recently in New Zealand. They've all had the registries and they're all being banned, and you have to turn in your firearms and all this and that. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not telling you what to do. Okay? Do not constitute any of this as legal advice. What else do we have here? Okay, I'm going to close out with this one. I'm going to read this to you verbatim. Okay, section 24-1, unlawful use of weapons. This is on page 74 of the bill. Well, it starts on page 74. Any person commits the offense of unlawful use of weapons when he knowingly, we're going to skip down to page 80. Number 14, manufactures, possesses, sells, or offers to sell, purchase, manufacture, import, transfer, or use any device, part, kit, tool, that's the main word we're focusing on here is tool, accessory, or combination of parts that is designed to and functions to increase the rate of fire of a semi-automatic firearm above the standard rate of fire for semi-automatic firearms that is not equipped with a device, part, or combination of parts. So tool, let's focus on tool. You're telling me that if I use an Allen key, an Allen wrench, to adjust my gas block on my rifle, you're telling me just because I'm using a tool, that Allen key is now a prohibited item. Same thing with the screwdriver. Todd at Freedom Steel brought this up in one of his videos. He said, if I use a screwdriver to adjust the trigger pull on my 1911, what is that? What is it? The screwdriver is now a prohibited item. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go shut down all the Menards, Lowe's, Home Depots, Ace Hardware, mom and pop hardware stores because they sell Allen keys and screwdrivers? I mean, the idiocy that these people put in this bill is mind-numbing sometimes. It really is. The last part, I know I said the last part before, but there's one other thing I forgot to mention in here. This one thing really kind of irks me, and this is, they've had this in there the whole time. They've carved out a law enforcement loophole for all of this, right? An exception, a law enforcement exception for all of this. Even though they don't want us, the common peasants, peons, whatever you want, whatever they refer to us as, to have mags over 15 rounds in pistols or 10 in rifles, and they don't want us to have assault rifles or assault weapons. They're perfectly fine with law enforcement having them. They've also carved out an exemption for not retailers, manufacturers, because there are several manufacturers in Illinois that, oh yeah, you can manufacture your assault rifles and sell them to people in other states, but not in Illinois unless it's a law enforcement agency. So we want law enforcement to protect us, right? Your rulers, but we don't want law enforcement or you to be able to have that same protection. It's a load of crap, guys. It really is. This whole thing stinks to high heaven. This whole series of bills, 3 bills now, 3 different bills for the same thing. And all of it is futile because as soon as this drops, lawsuits are going to be filed at record pace. And all of them are going to be found unconstitutional. You have any number of previous court rulings. The three famous are Heller versus DC, McDonald versus Chicago, and the New York State Pistol and Rifle Association versus Bruin. Those are just the 3 most famous. There's a whole lot of other ones that none of this is going to stand a chance. It really isn't. Not too many things cause me a loss for words, but the stupidity of what they're doing, I can't even put my finger on it. It's dumb. It's like Dumb and Dumber. It really is. It's like the blind leading the blind. So I urge you guys, tune in tonight, 5 o'clock. Check it out for yourselves. Link will be down in the description. Until we see each other again, I want you guys to stay safe and have fun on the range. We'll see you in the next one, guys.